Hi folks, how are we all doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in the northwest of England, in Altrincham and Urmston, in the northwest of England. I hope you're finding the love and witnessing the blessings in life in these difficult times. It's hard, my friends, but we're all in this one together. So I'm offering these devotions as a little bit of hope, I suppose, playing my role, being a part of the solution. They're a balm for the heart, the mind, the spirit and the soul. And the title for today's reflection is The Spiritual Life is Like a Flower. So invite us to still ourselves. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep, deep within us. I have lit the flame of freedom in this cup of belonging, acceptance and love. And I invite you to enter in this time and space in the spirit of love. Know that you are welcome. Know that you are welcome whoever you are, wherever you have been, wherever you may well yet be. Know that you are welcome as you are, exactly as you are this moment. In this time may we all be reminded of our highest aspirations and be inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of life. May we know once again that even in this time of physical separation, that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle, connected to the universe, to one another, to all life. So let's live in the spirit of love. The spiritual life is like a flower. I remember once sharing in one of my morning meditations with friends. Those words came to me in the silence. As I sat there in physical separation but connected with others in heart, mind, spirit and soul, those words came to me. They came as I sat in silence on an April morning. Where they came from, well, no one really knows. But I'm glad that they came. Now the question you may well ask is, how is the spiritual life like a flower? A good question, a reasonable question. Well, I'll attempt to explore here. Maybe we'll come to some sense, but maybe we won't. Who knows? Let's wait and see. But the first thing that comes to my heart and mind is that the spiritual life is about opening up, as flowers opening up. That to live spiritually is to open up and to continue opening up day after day, season after season, and year after year. Just as the flower opens up to the light, so do we. How many times do we open up and reach for the morning light? An infinite number, I suppose. That said, we not only open many times, we also close down and shrivel up many times too. We seemingly close in and shrivel up and fade away many times in our lives, only to rise and open once again at springtime. I don't mean physical spring, but our own springtimes. The spiritual life is about opening up and closing back in before opening up once again. And I think we repeat this over and over. The dance goes on. We dance together over and over again in the garden of delights, the garden of life. And we're all of us like flowers in the garden of life, each unique and yet each similar, each with something to offer. If we grow and flower and be all that we were born to be. Yes, a flower looks beautiful when it stands alone, of course it does. Each flower has its own unique beauty. But it only truly becomes what it is when it grows together with other flowers in the garden. It only truly becomes all that it is when it shares all that it is with all the other flowers in the garden of life. It becomes more than the sum of its parts. A garden is a great example of that. And it's the same with all of us and our lives. Yes, we are all uniquely beautiful. We all have our own qualities, but we only truly express them and experience them when we come together in love and share them with others, encouraging them to do likewise. The spiritual life is never truly experienced or expressed alone. These things only really come alive in company and communion with others. Each of us has something uniquely beautiful to offer one another, things that only truly flower when they share them together with each other. And of course, this is hard to do at the moment. I realise that. But we will be able to do once again, perhaps not this springtime. But if we do all we're being asked to do, there'll be many more springs to come, and for a whole lot more of us. So sometimes we have to take shelter, as we're doing today. There will be many more springs. We can flower and open up again. So the spiritual life is not only like a flower, but like a flower garden. The spiritual life comes alive in the garden of life, the garden of delights. The spiritual life is not experienced alone. It does not exist alone. It only comes alive when we share it with others. No life is an island. We cannot thrive or survive alone. We are interconnected. Much like all life in a garden is interconnected. And Margaret Silf captured this almost perfectly in The Way of Wisdom. She wrote, "We belong not merely to the created order of things, but in a great web of relationship and interconnectedness, in which every particle is intimately interwoven with every other, and in which, in some mysterious way, each particle holds and reflects something of the totality. This makes a huge difference to the way we live. Every choice we make, every response we offer, every reaction we reveal has an effect on that web of being. We are made for relationship. The wisdom of creation insists on it. No single creature can disengage from the dance of creation without jeopardizing the eternal beauty of that dance. We are indeed created to be we. To opt for merely being I is to opt out of the creative process itself. It's only in interrelationship that we have our being and our meaning." And in my eyes, the beauty of this interconnectedness is portrayed near perfectly in the observation of flowers growing together with all that makes up the nature of a garden. Our lives and all life is like those flowers in the garden. You see, nothing in life is separate. Everything is interconnected. If we damage one aspect of life, we damage all life. Just as if we begin to heal one aspect of life, we begin to heal all life. Or to paraphrase the words of Jesus, what you do to the least of them, you do to me. Everything is interconnected. Nothing lives separately from all life, and I believe that this is all connected by a great universal thread from which all life exists, that weaves through all of life, present in everything. I call that thread God. You may give it another name. True reverential spiritual living and awareness of the sacred in everything helps us to recognise the importance of everything. It helps us see that everything matters, every thought, every feeling, every word, every deed. It helps us recognise the intrinsic value of our own lives too. It reveals how we see life, and how we live in life impacts on everything, including our own souls, our own human beings. I am recognising this more and more as I live and breathe and enjoy my own being, and that in which I live and breathe and share my being. In recent months, as I have simply enjoyed walking round where I live, so even now I can still do that, I feel more connected to the people and nature that I pass and interact with. That 1 hour a day, when I'm with it, it seems to mean more to me now. My reverence for life and for love grows. as my love for my own being grows, even in these terribly difficult times. And it helps me to heal in many ways. And it allows me to thrive and live and dance in the garden of life. I think about this as I pass those beautiful gardens on my daily exercise. Beautiful. Or the wildflowers by the side of the canal, just as beautiful. As I run past them or sometimes walk, sometimes both. By observing flowers in a garden, we can see clearly the interdependence of all life. The life in which we live and breathe and share our being. Flowers can become an expression of spiritual practice too. Below are two simple observations that show how flowers can help us to develop and to grow spiritually. Tom Cohen suggests a way to develop forgiveness and healing through flowers. He says, buy a special vase and name it your forgiveness vase. Whenever someone offends or insults you, buy or pick some flowers and place them in the vase. Every day that the flowers are still fresh, say a prayer of forgiveness for the person who hurt you. When the flowers have died, let your own desire for revenge die with them. And Jose Hobday made this rather lovely observation about flowers too. He stated, every time I saw a flower, I could see it giving its life for me, and I could imagine my prayer being carried to God. That was true even when I was elsewhere and was just thinking about the flower. Either way, I had a strong sense my prayer was being heard. My flower and I were in union. Sometimes it took a few days, sometimes a couple of weeks. When the flower finally died, I would take it outside, say goodbye to it, and thank it for giving its life for me and for delivering my prayer. Then I would bury it so it would have a chance of new life. And I always hoped it would come back as an even nicer flower. So the next time you cut a flower, imagine that it is carrying a prayer for you and for all those in whom you share this life, those others who live in this beautiful garden of life, the garden of delights. The spiritual life is like a flower. I don't really know where that thought came from, what its source was, or who planted the seed and allowed it to nurture and grow, but I'm glad that it came to me in the silence that I shared with others that cold morning. I have many thoughts on its origins, and I'm sure those listening today do too. But none of us can honestly say that we really know. And I'm pretty certain none of us will ever know. And I don't think it matters. The key is, I have come to believe, that I accept this gift, nurture this gift, love it and allow it to grow. And of course, to share it with others so that we can all grow together in the beautiful garden of life, in the garden of delights. Take my hand and lead me. And I'm going to end with it's a kind of prayer poem by June Cotner. Maybe listen to these words prayerfully, if you wish. I believe in Gaia, the mother all tender, earth spirit, maker of gardens, and in her sons and daughters, the trees and plants of 4 seasons. I believe in the white lilies and the red ranunculuses of summer, and in their seeds. I believe in the pears and apples of autumn, the pumpkins, the blue-grey squashes that nourish our bodies with their meat, our spirits with their beauty. I believe in the holly of winter, whose needling leaves and red berries unite the green of Gaia to the blood of Christ. I believe in the crocus and tulips of spring, whose petals open like sacred chalices, from which all may drink the joy of the garden. Amen. So I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. You know, we don't bless enough. We ought to bless more. Everyone can bless with their loving presence. Why not try offering blessings throughout this day? So I invite us to still ourselves one final time. Go now in peace, touched by this time together. Ask of yourselves and life the beautiful questions. Be open to what life may offer, and in return, you may never know, you might just begin to live your way into some answers. Maybe, just maybe. Be open like a flower. And may the blessings of God go with us all, in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, and all that we do. Become like a flower. Amen.